I'm an atheist, right?
Yes.
You're not.
I'm not an atheist.
You're not as enlightened as I am.
Should
But
we? Should you want to talk about that? Because
you want to talk about it? Huh?
I can.
All right. Well, I'm sick of talking to believers. Why don't y'all send y'all supernatural forces down to talk to me?
I don't have any supernatural.
Send the Lord.
Do you all want
Send
to know?
Jesus Christ.
Here's
I
my.
want to talk to Jesus Christ.
I don't have that. And so my position is very clear. He hates when I say it. In the absence of knowing, anything is possible.
No, that is not true.
Kool-Aid Man, flying spaghetti monster.
Anything is not possible because
Do you know what happens after?
no, I'm not. See, you jump from anything being possible to what happens in the afterlife, or if there is an afterlife.
Probable, no.
So
Possible, yes.
we'll return back to your initial statement. In the
Okay.
absence of knowing, anything is possible.
Mm-hmm.
Now we can so jumping from there all the way over to what happens after we die. Those are two disconnected statements.
But we're specifically, it's in the context of the afterlife.
Right, but let's deal with the first statement, which
In the
is
context
a
of the
fallacious
afterlife?
statement. No, unto itself.
But can we talk about it in the context of the conversation, though?
After we prove that in the absence of knowing, is that a true statement?
That in the absence of knowing anything is possible?
Yes.
Yes. Not probable, though, but anything is possible. I don't know what's on the other side of that door.
There are things that are absolutely impossible. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay, so we know things are absolutely impossible.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that we know certain things are impossible, there are certain things that we don't have the capacity or capability of knowing, but we can extrapolate or extend what is not possible under these conditions. Therefore, under other conditions, these things will not be possible.
It extends probability.
And it's a wonderful statement. I like how it rolls off the tongue.
It extends probability. It doesn't extend
Right.
possibility.
Yeah,
or
you have
negate
probable and
possibility.
improbable. So we don't know if there's life on other planets.
It's probable.
Yes, because there's life on this planet. And we know that the conditions that exist on Earth and within this solar system has been replicated throughout the galaxy billions of times.
But in the absence of knowing, it's possible that there are nothing but dead rocks.
That's also possible.
But not probable.
But because we have some foundation to go off of, is there life on Earth? Do we know that for sure? Absolutely.
Yes.
So, do the conditions that brought life on Earth exist in other places?
I think so.
So we can start to build on that hypothesis or that theory and start to validate.
And expand probability,
Right.
but not negate.
So now let's go, because that's something we know.
Possibility.
Now let's go to the absence of knowing. We don't know that.
Are you just going to roll over what I said
What is about the afterlife?
about the expansion of probability?
We know what
versus
happens in the
possibility?
afterlife as well.
Can we set up the parameters of well, this ain't what your show is about today.
Right.
But if we can set up the parameters of what possibility is versus what probability is, then that helps to clarify things. Because is it probable that there's a Kool-Aid Man on the other side of the door? No. But is it possible? Yes. Who knows? Maybe someone's playing a joke, or it would blow my mind because it would seem highly improbable. But would I say that it's not possible? No, it's very.
Do you
possible.
mean the fictional corporate mascot Kool-Aid Man? The man in the they don't even use a
Kool-Aid
man
Man
in
costume,
a
or
costume.
a mouse, or a bag of popcorn?
Yes, because we've seen mice other places. So we know that mice exist. We have them in laboratories doing experiments on them all the time, and we need to cut that out. PETA, hashtag PETA, save the mice. So we know that there are mice, and we know that mice exist. So is it possible that a man can purchase and don a Kool-Aid suit and go somewhere? Yes. But is it possible for there to be
Is it
a literal
probable?
Kool-Aid Man? No, it's
No.
not probable, but it is possible.
Aha. So establishing those parameters helps.
Right,
the
because
conversation.
everything that you say that is possible in the absence of knowing is something that there's prior evidence to.
Yes.
So that and we know what happens after death.
Do we?
Yes, absolutely.
We know.
Rot and decay.
Yes,
Decomposition
that's what
happens after
happens.
death.
That's what happens.
We
to
know
us.
that all neurological things that you call your mind or your soul or your identity all cease when your homeostasis and your biological process end.
That's
They all
true.
end together.
But you say
So-
all the time that the planet is a fishbowl, and that there's no new energy, there's no new matter, there's no new anything on this planet. And if that's the case, then what happens to it?
Well,
It
in the
doesn't
universe, we know what happens. We
Wait,
know
it decays
that
and rots.
we
And
know
how
that
does-
matter. Yes.
Is there, I mean, we could go on and on. But like I said before, I mean, there's all kinds of information that we have now that humanity, black people, whomever, didn't necessarily possess 500 years ago.
When we believe that there was a soul, everything has certain, is defined, has properties. So if you say the humans have a soul, and then you say, well, then what is a soul? Can you define a soul? And then once you define something, like I can say, well, a mineral.
You brought up soul, though, not me.
Okay. Well, you don't call it a soul because a soul has been disproven. Do you agree that we don't have souls?
I wouldn't even know how to contextualize a soul. What does that
So
even
we don't
mean?
have it. Good.
I didn't say we
good.
didn't have
You're
it. I
learning.
said I
You're
wouldn't.
growing.
I'm not growing in your way. It's not. It's
Growth
possible.
doesn't belong
it's
to
just not
me.
probable. No. Under the context with which you're trying to assert that I've grown. No, I've not grown closer to your position. Not in any way.
See, I didn't know you was a religious
Yes, you did. Shut up.
fundamentalist.
And I'm not a religious fundamentalist.
A nut job.
You're the fundamentalist. You're the one who's like, it's definitely death and worms and nothing else.
I'm not a
Nothing else.
fundamentalist.
There's nothing out there. How do you know? You don't know.
I don't know.
Right. So you're the zealot, insisting on one specific thing.
I'm not insisting on anything. I just go where the evidence leads me. The
Do
moment
you?
you can demonstrate
And
that.
so did the flat earthers all those years ago.
Yes.
Because they looked over a cliff and were like, that's it.
That's not where flat Earth did not come from observation and study. Flat Earth came from biblical myths.
Did it?
Yes, on Wednesday, the flat Earth, the firmament, that the Earth was fixed on pillars. Yeah, go look at Ezekiel. They describe the conditions of the planet Earth. So the concept of a flat Earth was nothing that anyone concluded based on research.
I assumed it was like walking towards a cliff or like the Grand Canyon or something and being like, oh no, that's the end. Or like on Game of Thrones, like looking at an ocean
Well,
and feeling like.
It kind of was because Bible was written by men who were not inspired by divine powers. They were just collecting primitive mythologies and folklore together and compiling it
That's true.
and injecting their own dysfunction.
Absolutely.
So, yes, the myth of the flat earth came from men, was attributed to God, and then imposed on other men, like Galileo, who they wanted to kill Galileo because Galileo said that the earth is not fixed in place, that the sun does not revolve around the earth, and that the earth is not, it's not likely that the earth, and other people, other primitive people who didn't even have telescopes could look up and say, well, the moon is an orb, the sun is an orb, the heavenly bodies seem to be spherical, and we know we're in the same space, so the earth is spherical. So some people never mess with that mess, but the propagation of the idea that the earth was flat comes out of the Catholic Church or the Holy Roman Church or whatever manifestation of the church,
Right.
the papacy. And then the Protestants carried that forward for a while too. So even though some people, like if I have a delusion or I have some insane idea, it could just be something I take to the grave with me. But if I have an insane idea and I have a powerful institution where I can cut out people's tongue and torture them to death if they don't agree with me, that's when it becomes a problem. That's why I oppose religion. I don't oppose people believing madness, things like the afterlife or souls.
I too
But
oppose
when
religion.
those insane ideas are married to a powerful institution, that's when you have inquisitions
Absolutely. I
and
agree
other
with that.
atrocities and
Wholeheartedly.
ongoing ignorance, and that's my only thing. So as long as you don't link up with other people who share your beliefs,
What about the cult of atheism?
there is no cult of atheism, and I'm very
What happens
shocked
if
and
you
hurt.
link up with other people who share your beliefs?
Atheism is not a belief. It's not a belief.
What is
do atheists
Wait,
believe?
what is it? That there's
It's a conclusion.
that it's lights out and no more darkness.
That
and
is a
nothing
conclusion.
else. It's
That
a
is
conclusion.
no that the atheist position on death is you can observe dying bodies. You can observe humans. You can even hook up neurological instruments to a human to observe brain activities. And there's been no evidence presented that the neurological activities that make up your personality, your identity, your soul, that it survives beyond your biochemical processes.
But you're taking a very limited look at it, because when you think about decay in and of itself, that gorgeous process is about a breaking down of yourself and everything that is you,
and dissipation,
returning to the earth. And so there could be elements of that we don't quite understand yet, that may contain elements of some form of persistence of a human being. In some context,
humans,
we couldn't possibly understand at this stage in human development.
We do persist in the bowels of worms, and they poop us out, and we persist
that
in the
doesn't
soil.
bother me. That's part of the beauty for me. But
yes.
But what I'm saying is that there are elements of that process, or maybe even elements that we don't even know outside of that process. That's all I'm saying. It's possible. I don't know what the probability levels are there, but I don't need to say nope for sure 100%. That's
do
it.
These
and
believe...
for me, that's more zealotry than saying anything is possible. I don't have to proclaim to know that.
But I don't have to deny what I know.
And I don't have
because
to
I don't know other
that
things I have to deny.
Know.
Okay. Well, as long as you keep it, like Malcolm X said, keep it in the closet. As long as you keep doing like Malcolm did.
I don't.
But maybe I'll use that to my benefit, because if I die before you, and then I'm watching you.
See, you rule out hauntings if you take your position.
And you go back to that weirdo you went to prom with that lopsided crunk head dude.
You want to talk about ex-partners?
With that old...
I hope
that old
raggedy chicks are listening.
That old thin mustache looking like a villain. Tie your ass to the train tracks after prom. Okay. That dude, what's his name?
I'm not going to
insult your mother keeps that
women.
Picture.
I'm not going to be that person.
Sisterhood, good. Sister. So anyway, you can't run back to that weirdo.
Okay. I know you don't even want to take that step backwards.
Look, listen, your tastes refine as you grow.
I hope you
I don't hold it
step
against
forward.
Your tastes refine. But all I'm saying is, if I go before you, you believe that there'll be some part of me lingering, watching you.
I don't think you'd be watching me.
Acting on your behalf.
I don't think that either.
What would I be doing? What do you imagine? Because, you know, men... We burn out faster. We burn brighter and faster than women.
It's possible.
Y'all hang on.
I mean, but if
statistically,
if I could guess,
I'm gonna go.
If I could make a hope, I would hope it would have something to do with lottery numbers. If I could hope.
If I could give you I wouldn't give you no lottery numbers. So you and that old greasy, slimy looking dude
Why
can
would I go
on yachts.
backwards? Why couldn't I do better than that? Why wouldn't I go forward?
Do better than him or me?
Both.
You think I'm gonna give you lottery numbers from the afterlife, from the ancestral realm?
Wow.
I'm gonna give you.
You'll be petty, zooming through the cosmos.
It depends.
Okay.
If you go to a covenant, I'll give you lottery numbers, and you can hook up the covenant with Wi-Fi and paint it. You know.
You're not gonna be caring. You're gonna be playing your Xbox in your mansion.
That's what you believe. See, you just told on yourself. That's why I said it. That's why I said it.
Mormonism.
If there was, Mormon. Yeah, like I said, if there was an afterlife.
That's the correct answer, Mormon.
Anyway.
Mormon.
I don't want to get into that.
Sorry.
Religion and politics.
I'm not into religion. And
you just been exposed.
You know, Diallo's a spin doctor. No, come on. Child.
Been exposed, but
I haven't been exposed. That's how you win these debates. You just declare exposure. You've been exposed.
I mean, you can't even debate, because a formal debate, maybe like the Democratic debate.
I would love it. Those are formal debates.
Those aren't debates, right? A debate, you have to come with evidence. I don't even have to. I just sit there and fold my arms, because you can't pull out one document, not one sliver of evidence to support your position. So you can't debate.
I can.
You know, it'd be like debating.
There's all kinds of theories
if Spider-Man can defeat Batman.
There's a million theories. Right. I mean, and that's your position, too, relies on the unknown. You can make assertions and proclaim them loudly and with great vigor. That doesn't make them true.
No, it doesn't make them true. The fact that there is documented evidence. I know what happens after we die.
I'm not. Am I negating decay?
Huh?
Am I negating decay?
No. Yes, you are, by saying that there's something that goes beyond. Something of your psyche, of who you are.
I never said psyche. These are all words that you're adding on. I'm on tape. I'm glad we had this conversation on tape. I never said psyche. These are all constructs.
You're saying you don't know what happens after you die. Is that your position?
Yes.
So we do know what happens after you die, and you deny it. And a lot of people who are religious...
We don't know the totality of what happens. How about that?
We do know the totality. There has literally been dead bodies, human and otherwise.
Are there things that we don't understand today that you believe that human beings will understand if life persists on this planet?
Absolutely.
500 years from now?
Yes.
And so for those reasons, just like we didn't understand molecular biology way back, just like there's a myriad of things that exist currently in our understandings, both scientifically and otherwise, that
No
we did not
otherwise.
know in other spaces, that we just didn't understand. And so there's constant evolving of knowledge.
Yes.
And so for those reasons, it is my I guess it's a belief because it is an absence of knowledge. My belief is that there is a great deal more to be known. And in the absence of that knowing, and the knowing beyond that, and the knowing beyond that, anything is possible.
Yes.
I deal in probability as I exist and walk the earth today, because probability that's what I base in terms of what I see, what I know and understand. But I understand the limitations of what I know and understand, which is why I simply assert probability and leave room for possibility. That's the extent of my argument. And if you would need to attach angels and demons and Jesus and anything else, spaghetti monsters or Kool-Aid men, you can, but it's not necessarily a big part of what I'm asserting.
Okay. Now you just won my argument for me, so I'm going to raise both of my hands in victory.
I'm glad.
Everybody
I tried
listening
to
on the
support
radio,
you.
both of my hands are raised in victory, and let me tell you why.
Can you do the
Let me tell you where you messed up.
Can you do the?
It ain't strong enough. This is a relatively minor victory. We don't call down the Holy Ghost for mess. Don't play with the Holy Ghost like that.
If
Your
Bernie
mama
wins,
raised you
if Bernie
better.
wins the primary, will you?
I'll do Holy Ghost.
Yay!
We'll get the Holy Ghost dance. An
Yay.
extended, remixed Holy Ghost dance. But I'm going to raise my hands in victory over you because you just played yourself. You know why?
How did I do that?
Your example validates my position.
Help me understand.
Because you said, if we know that there were things that we didn't know in the past that we came to understand.
That's right.
And when we didn't know things in the past, we often made up supernatural explanations.
That's
about,
your addition.
Okay,
go ahead.
about thunder, about volcanoes,
Right.
about hurricanes,
Sure.
about disease,
Yes.
even about human reproduction.
Absolutely.
There were things that we would see. We would see phenomenon, and we did not fully understand them. And so there were always two types of speculations. There was the naturalist speculation, the scientific speculation or hypothesis or theories, and there was the supernatural belief. And 100% of the time, 100% of the time, every time we came to understand or came to a new understanding or developed new instruments to aid in our understanding, 100% of the time, the natural, scientific, hypothesized theory has been sustained, and not once has our greater understanding ever brought us to a confirmed conclusion of anything supernatural, anything otherworldly, anything spiritual or magical. 100% of the time. So when you retreat to, well, there were things we didn't know in the past, and that validates scientific method.
Help me
That
understand. how you're
validates
negating my
rationalism. It invalidates magic.
point. What does that have to do with my
So
point?
what I think that when we do understand death and transition and the mind and the psyche and the so-called spirit and the soul, as we have greater instruments to look beyond this realm of existence, I think that just like in all other times we said there was something magical, we will find
Why
that
do you
it's
keep
nothing
turning
magical.
to magic? Have I ever asserted magic or spirit or
Because-
any of those things? That's just my
Well,
question.
those are the terms for what you're talking.
Are they? Because they're not
Yes.
the terms that I've used. I've used very specific terms again and again, and you keep jumping to magic and spirits and ghosts, and I've never asserted any of those things.
What is your word for it?
I haven't brought that into the conversation at all.
Right. So what you're doing is trying to keep escape hatches all over this
How am I-
conversation.
No, I've just
You
made
have
one very
unlocked little
clear.
escape hatches.
Man, I'm so glad for
But
the
we
internet.
know you-
I've made one very clear point consistently and again and again. In the absence of knowing, anything is possible, and I exist primarily with
Right.
probability and less about negating possibility. I don't need to pretend that I know a thing to satiate my human desire to have some sort of settling understanding of all things. I understand and embrace, and I actually learned this from you, Diallo. I embrace the uncertainty. I embrace not knowing. Because in doing so, there's a freedom that enables you to learn more, enables you to grow, and enables you to explore things that you otherwise wouldn't when you accept the finality of any singular position, specifically when there's no way to know. So that's what I'm asserting. That is it. So you keep adding on ghouls and goblins, not me.
Right. But that's what you're talking about.
You keep
just
saying
don't-
that.
you claim
You
it.
know, you're
Claim
like a
it.
Republican.
You will not claim it.
She didn't say goblins, but she will. No, I'm not going
That's
to.
what you're saying. You just
Are you sure? Because I
Yeah.
feel like I never have.
It's just the antiquated, because if you really call what you're calling for, what you're talking about is the spirit and
No,
the
that's what
afterlife
you're
and the
talking
soul.
about.
Is there an afterlife, Erica?
In the absence of knowing,
That
anything is possible.
So you don't know.
I don't. And
You
I
won't
think,
rule one out.
And I even think it's improbable.
So you don't know if there's an afterlife
I
or
think
not.
it's improbable, but I don't know. No, do you? What's
Yes,
that white light
I do
people
know.
see? I don't know.
And it's funny. Here's another thing
Maybe
about.
that's just like the last flash of.
Okay, here's one more thing about
Who knows what
this
that is?
end of life phenomenon. As you grow across cultures, people who have near death experience, they always observe things within their cultural context. So human beings, like in the West, if you grew up in a Christian Western culture and you have a near death experience, they always come back from a near death experience and say, I saw a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah. I believe
Whereas
it.
if you grow up in a culture that believes in reincarnation, they always say, oh, I communed. I saw my past lives stretched out behind me and my future life stretched out in front of me.
I agree.
So when your
It's primarily
mind
psychological.
starts to be deprived of oxygen, when your mind starts to shut down, when your higher functions start to shut down and your reptilian limbic brain takes over, all it does is pull from all of the influences of your physical life and puts that together into some type of comprehensive narrative.
I don't negate that.
So every time when people, that white light at the end of the tunnel is what you, when you sitting on your grandma's lap in the tabernacle, oh, Jesus, 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 make me white, Jesus. And then when you go and you turn on the radio and you driving across country and you turn on the Midwestern radio and they're like, Jesus, Jesus, blah, blah. And then you get to be 80 years old and that's been in the background of your life. You go to the DMV and the lady that works for the government got a little Jesus statue and she got a cross on her neck. So all your life you've been having Jesus dripping into your psyche.
Yeah.
So when you die, you see Jesus.
Sure, I don't negate that in any way. I'm almost. That's highly probable that that's
So
the reason
that's
why.
that's the reason for the white light that
Highly
people
probable,
see.
yes,
But
I
if
agree
you
with
grow
that.
up in a culture that doesn't believe in the white light, when you have a near-death experience, you're not going to see the white light. So
You won't get me to debate that. Highly probable.
So,
that's the reason. Yeah.
So in the absence of knowing, you can still draw some rational conclusions. That's what you need to
probability
change that
is.
quote.
Rational
I'll write that
conclusions
down
is probability. No, I like
on
my
a
way.
post-it
I'm gonna
and put
keep
it on
saying
your
my way.
desk.
No, you
In
can
the
do
absence
that.
of knowing,
You can do that.
you can still extrapolate.
I'll never say it.